We got it now. We got it now. All under control, indeed. Oh, and Lady Death's here? What is up? What is up, Lady Death? What is up? Good to see you. So here's the plan. Today we are continuing. We're continuing with The Beetle Horde by Victor Rousseau. So last Sunday, we started in on that. That was the one about the group of explorers who find their way into a hollow Earth. And they get captured by these giant sentient insects who have made them into slaves, and they have to mine. They're mining some substance. I forget exactly what it was. But yeah, it's as pulpy sci-fi as you can probably get. So we're gonna have a good time reading that. And we have 2 stories. Hello, Moon. What's up, Moon? We have 2 stories to read today. One written by Kate. Is Kate here? Probably not. We're going to start with the Beetle story first, anyway. Maybe they'll come in. Hey, Chris Alberti, good to see you again, too. Good to see you again. Okay, it looks like Kate's not here. And the other one was by Tillable Cat. And I think Tillable Cat just sent a message a short little bit ago that they will be running a little bit late. They have something to attend to. Which and yeah, you know, you got to get your priorities there. So yeah, we'll read our Beetle stuff there, and hopefully we'll have Kate and Tillable Cat here by the time we get around to reading their short stories. And if they're not, they can catch up on the VOD. Anyway, it's always very exciting when we have creative writers out there like you sending in stories for me to share with the rest of the audience. Yeah, I'm always down for that. So if you are a creative writer, if you want to have something heard, get it out there, get a little feedback on it even. Yeah. So you can get in contact with me via probably Discord. Discord's probably the best way to do it, but also on Twitter. Twitter's also good. Sci-Fiction, how you doing, man? Yeah, I was speaking to Mr. Barlingwolf, I think they say, yesterday there. Yeah. We're just talking about you. How's the Halo over on the Twitch going? That's really taking off for you over there. Sounds good. Good morning, Mr. Tom. Mr. Tom, how you doing? Moon's throwing down some book club stickers. I'm a fan. Yeah, we are. Very cool. But yeah. We're still streaming Halo here fairly regularly, Sci-Fiction, but you know how I play, quite terribly. So. Yeah. Oh, you got 65 subs yesterday on Twitch. Yeah. Well, that's really good. That's really good. You're going good, and you're competing more. Nice, very nice. Yeah, that's something I don't know a lot about. Is like getting involved with the actual like Halo teams and networks and stuff like that. There, yeah, I pretty much just do my own thing and muddle my way through. The streams, they've been very good sci-fiction. Yeah, we're. At the beginning of the year, I moved book club into the mornings, which has worked out well. Still have time for gaming in the evenings, which is great. And Sundays, today we've got Short Story Sunday in the afternoons, and we've got movie night coming up a little bit later. So that's going to be fun. That's going to be very fun. Very good. But last night we were doing some gears yesterday. I'm trying to get an MMO group together, maybe form a guild or something like that to for Neverwinter. That's an MMO I've been trying out a bit. Anyway, we should probably get on with it in the meantime, though. That's why y'all are here. And as soon as that Minecraft Dungeons, as soon as I get a key for that, that's going to be I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Yep. That those word filters are going to grab you there, Skip Donahue. We did do well. We did. Okay, so without further ado, let's hop into it. Let's get on in, see what's happening here. We got what is this? This is the cover of the magazine that we're reading from. Astounding Stories of Super Science. This is back from January 1930. Fell into the public domain because, like a lot of magazine publishers, they didn't re-up their copyrights when they had a chance to. Yeah, luckily for us. Lucky for us, I need to find some of these magazines with some like Asimov and Ray Bradbury material in that. That'd be great. That'd be great. You know, you don't hear Arthur C. Clarke's name thrown around a lot these days. Well, I wonder what happened to Arthur C. Clarke. Well, I know he's dead, but actually, you know what? I'm just assuming he's dead. Pretty sure he is. Arthur C. Clarke. But yeah, you don't hear his name thrown around like the other sci-fi writers. Oh, he died in 2008. All right. Interesting. All right. Yeah, he was just too much waffle. Oh no. Oh no. He was a total perv. Was that him? I thought that was Asimov. I thought Asimov had some dark secrets come up or something. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe they are. Maybe they're not. Anyway, all I know is Shadow Pops better not be giving me too much grief today. Otherwise, I might have to rethink our new novel that we're starting tomorrow, The Lone Star Ranger. I don't know. Don't know. Some of his books are twisted. Maybe. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, he wrote some great sci-fi, though. Some great sci-fi, but yeah, I always, like, preferred Asimov, but yeah, apparently they had some IRL shenanigans that they were getting up to, which reflected rather poorly on their legacy. Yeah. Alrighty, anyway, let's get into it. Astounding Stories of Super Science. This is the cover. You can see them getting into a fist fight with this giant beetle here, and there's some, like, cave girl off to the side, and some dude running to the rescue. Anyway, so we had the little recap of where we are in that. And do we need to back up a page or two? Possibly. Yeah, let's do it. Let's back up a page. Oh, by the way, I was just going to say, if you are here, well, first of all, thank you for being here. Secondly, if you enjoy the stream, please throw me a host. Yeah, throw this channel a host here on Mixer. That would be fantastic. And also, while you are at it, share the link to the stream. There are some buttons below the stream, or if you're watching on your on the app, I think it's in the top right-hand corner, to share the stream to your Twitter or to your Facebook or your Instagram or whatever your favorite social media thing is, and let people know about what you like to watch on Mixer. Maybe drop a little sentence or two about, wow, I like watching the Carrington because, well, I'll let you fill in the blank. I don't want to put words in your mind or in your head, but yeah, if you can just a little social media love there is going to be a great help as well to the stream while we build up our audience. There's Kate. There is Kate, and Kate did it. She did do it. Did. So yeah, when we get to I wasn't sure what time Kate was going to be here, or Tillable Cat, because we have a submission from Tillable Cat as well. But yeah, we have a Kate right there. Yeah, we will be reading a story by Kate after we've finished with our Beetle stuff here. Let's do it. Let us do it. Okay, do you have the day off, Kate, by the way? I hope you did. It sounds, your week has been rough. Okay. That's right. Okay, yeah. So, so they're down in Antarctica. So Tommy and friends, they're all down in Antarctica. The evil scientist dude had vanished, walked out into a storm. No one saw him again, presumed dead. They find the hollow earth. They go down. They're captured by the giant beetles. And then right when we left it, it was light enough for Tommy to see the face of the ruler of the hellish swarm, and it required all his powers of will to keep from collapsing from sheer horror at what he saw. For despite the close-fitting shell, the face of the Beetle King was the face of a man, a white man, Jim Dodd's shriek rang out above the shrilling of the beetle legs. "Brom, it's you! It's you! My God, it's you, Brom!" So Brom was the evil dude, who was supposed to have gone missing, presumed dead. So now he is apparently decked up like a beetle himself, king of the beetles. Well, that's one heck of a promotion. One heck of a promotion. Man, okay. Very good. Tomorrow you have off. Yeah, okay, yeah, and tomorrow you got your big relaxing day. All right. Okay, let's get on with it. Let's do it. Chapter 4, Brom's Story. A sneering chuckle broke from Brom's lips. "Yes, it's me, James Dodd," he answered. "I'm a little surprised to see you here, Dodd, but I'm mighty glad. Still insane upon the subject of fossil monotremes, I suppose." The words came haltingly from Brom's lips, as from those of a man who had lost the habit of easy speech. And Tommy, looking on and trying to keep in possession of his faculties, had already come to the conclusion that the sounds were inaudible to the beetles. Probably their hearing apparatus was not attuned to such slow vibrations of the human voice. Also, he had discovered that Brom was wearing the discarded shell of one of the monsters. He had not grown the shell himself. It was fastened about his body by a band of the hair cloth, fastened to the two protuberances of the elytra, or wing cases, on either side of the dorsal surface. The discovery at least robbed the situation of one aspect of terror. Brom, however he had obtained control of the swarm, was still only a man. Very good. Okay, just moving my restream chat window over there. "Yes, still insane." Oh, no, this is Dodd speaking back. "Yes, still insane," answered Dodd bitterly. "Insane enough to go on believing that the Polyprotodontia and the Dasyuridae, which includes the Permealidae or bandicoots and the banded anteaters or Myrmecobidae, are not to be found in fossil form, for the excellent reason that they were not represented before the Upper Cretaceous period." That dude is such a nerd. "You lie," screamed Brom. "I have shown to all the world that Phascalotherium, Amphotherium, Amblotherium, Spalacotherium, and many other orders are to be found in the Upper Jurassic rocks of England, Wyoming, and other places. You are the man who denied the existence of the Nototherium, of the marsupial lion, in Pleistocene deposits. You denied that the Dasyuridae can be traced back beyond the Pleistocene, and you stand there and lie to me when you are at my mercy." "For God's sake, don't aggravate him," whispered Tommy to Dodd. "Don't you see that he's insane? Humor him, or we'll be dead men. Think what the world will lose if you are never able to go back with your specimens," he added craftily. But Dodd, whose eyes were glaring, said a sublime thing. "I have given my life to science, and I'll never deny my master." With a screech, which, however, was evidently inaudible to the beetles, Brom leaped at Dodd and seized him by the throat. The two men fell to the ground, the ponderous beetle shell completely covering them. Underneath it they could be seen to be struggling desperately. All the while the beetle horde remained perfectly motionless. Tommy thought afterward that in this fact lay their brightest chance of escape if Brom's immediate vengeance did not fall on them. Either because Brom was not himself a beetle, or because in some other way the swarm instinct was not stirred, the monsters watched the struggle with complete indifference. At the moment, however, Tommy was only concerned with saving Dodd from the madman. He got his foot beneath the shell, then inserted his leg, using his whole body as a lever. He succeeded in turning Brom over on his back. Then, and only then, the swarm rushed in on them. Then Tommy realized that he had touched one of the triggers that regulated the beetle's automatism. In another instant, Brom would have been torn to pieces. The needlebeaks were darting through the air, the hideous jaws were snapping. Brom's yells rang through the cavern. Dodging beneath the avalanche of the monsters, Tommy got Bram upon his feet again. The beetles stopped, every movement arrested. Bram's hand went to the pocket of his tattered coat. There came a snap, a flash. Bram had ignited an automatic cigarette lighter. Instantly, the monsters went scurrying away into the distance, and Tommy had another clue. The beetles, living in the dimness of the underworld, could not stand light or fire. He ran to where Jimmy was lying, face upward on the ground. His face was badly scarred by Bram's nails, and the blood was spurting from a long gash in his throat, made by the sharp flint that was lying beside him. He had some time before discarded... what? Okay. Jimmy's lying on the... Okay, Jimmy got in the fight. He had some time before discarded his fur coat. Now he pulled off his coat, and tearing off the tail of his shirt, he made a pad and a bandage, with which he attempted to staunch the blood and bind the wound. It must have taken 10 minutes before the failing heart force enabled him to get the bleeding under control. Dodd had nearly bled to death. His face was drawn and waxen, but because the pulsation was so feeble, the artery had ceased to spurt. Then only did Tommy take notice of Bram. He had been squatting near, and Tommy realized that he had unconsciously observed Bram put some sort of pellets into his mouth. Now he realized that Bram was a drug fiend. That was what had made him walk out of the Greystoke camp in the storm. Hey there, big baloney Tony. Good morning. Bram got up and came toward them. "Is he dead?" he whispered hoarsely. "I lost my temper. You too? I don't intend to kill you. There's room for the 3 of us. I've got plans of the utmost importance to humanity." "I don't think much of the way you have started to carry them out," answered Tommy bitterly. "No, he's not dead yet, but I wouldn't give much for his chances, even in the best hospital. The best thing you can do now is to go to hell and take your beetles with you," he added. Good morning, SoCal. Good morning, SoCal. Tonight's movie is My Man Godfrey. My Man Godfrey. It's in the super secret section if anyone needs a sneak peek at it. Here's the wiki link in case anyone's curious what it's about. Yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be very good. We're doing that at 6 p.m. Pacific. 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Okay, so Tommy told Bram to go to hell. Bram, without replying, raised his head and emitted from his throat the shrillest whistle that Tommy had ever heard. The response was amazing. Rasping out of the darkness came 8 beetles in pairs. Instead of leaping from an upright position, they trotted in the manner of horses, on all fours, their shells, which touched at the edges, forming a solid surface, gently rounded in the center so that a man's body could lie there and fit snugly into the groove. "Help me get him up," said Bram. "Trust me, I'll do my best for him. If we leave him here, they may kill and eat him. I can't trust all those beetle guards." Tommy hesitated a moment, then decided to follow Bram's suggestion. Together they raised the unconscious man to the beetle shell couch. Bram seated himself upon the boss of one of the beetle shells in front, and Tommy jumped up behind. Next moment, to his amazement, the trained steeds were flying smoothly through the air at a rate that could not have been less than 75 to 80 miles an hour. Tommy's shell seat was not a bed of roses, but he hardly noticed that. He was thinking that if Dodd lived, they should be able to turn the tables. For, unknown to Bram, he was in possession of the cigarette lighter, which he had picked up, and which Bram, in his agitation, had forgotten. It was full of petrol or some other fluid of a similar nature, which Bram must have obtained from some natural source within the earth. And in an emergency, Tommy knew that he had the means of keeping the beetles at bay. Yeah, it's a weird Easter, that's for sure. They had traveled for perhaps an hour when a faint light began to glow in the distance. It grew brighter, and a roaring sound became audible. A turn of the track that they were traversing, and the light became a glare. A terrific sight met Tommy's eyes. Out of the bowels of the earth, actually out of the crust beneath their feet, there shot a pillar of roaring flame, of intense white color, and radiating a heat that was perceptible even at a distance of several hundred yards. The beetle steeds dropped gently to the ground. They halted. Bram got down, grinning. "Nicely trained horses, what?" he asked. "By the way, you have the advantage of me in names. Who and what are you?" Tommy told him. "Well, Travers, it looks as if we're going to be companions for some time to come, and I quite admit you saved my life back there. So we don't want to start with secrets. This is a natural petrol spring, which has probably been burning undiminished for ages. My trained beetles are blind. You didn't happen to notice I'd cut off their antenna? But the rest of the swarm daren't come near it. So that makes me their master." Good morning, Borrowing Orange. Thank you for that host there. Thank you. "Pretty trick, what, Travers? I'm the Lord of the Flame down here, and I'm using my advantage. But don't get the idea of supplanting me. There are lots of other tricks you don't know anything about, and I'll have to trust you better before I—" He broke off and slipped another pellet into his mouth. "Help me get Dodd down if this is our destination," answered Tommy. They lifted Dodd to the ground. He was conscious now and moaning for water. The two men carried him into a sort of large cavern, at the farther end of which the fire was roaring. Bram went to a spring that trickled down one side, filled something that looked like a petrified lily calyx, and brought it to Dodd, who drained it. Tommy looked about him. He was astonished to see that the place was, in a way, furnished. Bram had carved out a very creditable couch and several low chairs, evidently with a stone axe, for by the light of the fire, which cast a fair illumination even at that distance, Tommy could see the marks of the implement, rough and irregular, in the wood. On the ground were thick rugs, woven of hair, and 2 or 3 more rugs of the same material lay on the couch. It was evident that the human herd was expected to furnish textile materials, as well as meat. "Sit down and make yourself comfortable," said Bram, when they had raised Dodd to the couch. "We'll have dinner, and then we'll talk. I can give you a fine vegetarian meal. Those dirty, shrimp-eating savages look on me as a cannibal because I eat the fruits of the trees." He grinned. "There's a bad shortage of food in Submundia, as I've named this part of the world," he went on. "For until I came, the beetles simply devoured the humans wholesale instead of breeding them, like I taught them. And there's another of the 150-year swarms due to hatch out soon. However, we'll talk about that later. And all those fine fruits going to waste. Excuse me, Travers." He disappeared, and returned in a minute or two with a small table piled high with luscious fruits unknown to Tommy, though among them were some that looked like loaves of natural bread. "Hello there, Ian, over on Twitch. How you doing, man?" Tommy, whose appetite never failed him, even in the worst circumstances, fell to with a will. He was enjoying his meal when he happened to look up and saw that the penumbra at the edge of the lighted zone was dense with beetles. Thousands, perhaps millions, for they stretched away as far as the eye could see, were packed together, their antennae waving in unison, their heads beneath the shells directed toward the fire. Brom saw Tommy's look of disgust and laughed. "The fire seems to intoxicate them, Travers," he said. "They always throng the entrance when I'm here. It's as far as they dare go. They're quite blind in the least light. Care to smoke? I've learned the art of making some quite decent cigars." He produced a handful. "Oh, by the way, you didn't see my lighter anywhere, did you?" he went on, with a pretense of carelessness. No," lied Tommy. "I was surprised you—" "Oh, there's a supply of petrol in the rocks, no matter," answered Brom carelessly. "Your friend looks bad," he added, glancing at Dodd, who had fallen asleep. "Travers, I'm sorry I lost my temper. The shock of meeting men from the upper world, you know." Is that, do I have that turned on in here? Yeah, I think I do. Right. Yeah, there we go. Dodd opened his eyes and tried to whisper. Tommy bent over him and listened. "He wants you to know whether he can have that girl to take care of him," he said. "What? The one I saw you with? Why, well, she's a cull, Travers." "What do you mean?" asked Tommy. "Why, useless, you know. There's several of them running loose and waiting to be rounded up." "Oh, no, is this Brom?" Tommy bent over him. "Dodd?" "Oh, yeah, okay, this must be him." Hang on. Okay, no, this is, okay, so, there's Brom interrupting. Hang on a second. Oh, no, oh boy, this is, okay, that was confusing, okay. Dodd opened his eyes and tried to whisper. "Things aren't so bad for the guys than life on a stud farm." Yeah, I don't know if it's that good. Dodd opened his eyes and tried to whisper. Tommy bent over him and listened. He wants to know whether... Okay, so this is... Okay, so this is Tommy relaying what Dodd is whispering to Brom. Yeah, that's very poorly written. Okay. "He wants to know whether he can have that girl to take care of him," he said. "What? The one I saw you with? Why, she's a cull, Travers." "What do you mean?" asked Tommy. "Why, useless, you know. There's several of them running loose and waiting to be rounded up. We raise 2 breeds, one for replenishing the stock and one for meat. She's just a cull, a reversion, no use for either purpose. I'll have her brought by all means. I like Dodd. I want to get him to like me," Brom went on, with a sort of penitence that had a pathetic touch. "Our little differences, quite absurd, and I can prove he's wrong in his ideas. Make yourself comfortable as long as you're here, Travers, and don't mind me. Only don't try to escape. The Beatles will get you if you do, and there's no way out of here. None that you'll find, and don't try to follow me. But you're a sensible man, and we'll..." Mr. Backwood Lion. Backwood Lion. How you doing, man? It's quite a co-stream you were having earlier today with Misbehavin'. Getting that Call of Duty in. "The Beatles will get you if you do, and there's no way out of here, none that you'll find. And don't try to follow me. But you're a sensible man, and we'll get along famously, I'm sure, as soon as Dodd recovers." Oh, thank you for that host, too. Thank you, Backwood Lion. I like that. Yeah. So you got the day off, or you're heading into work later? I got too much time off right now. Chapter 5. Doomed. Oh, by the way, in between chapters, let me just catch. I don't think I'm missing any chat. I just wanted to say, for our friends who might be watching over on Twitch, who might be watching on YouTube, or who might be watching up on Periscope, our main stream is over on Mixer, mixer.com/CarringtonTV. And I've been reading books there for almost 2 years now. We have a pretty good stream there. I read about 40 hours of books every month. And I've only just started restreaming over to Twitch and YouTube and Periscope, because of the situation right now. There's so many people who've either they've lost their jobs, or they're working from home, or their school is out and they're stuck inside the house. So we're just expanding the entertainment reach of what we're doing here to maybe help a little people out, give them some daily distraction from what's going on, help them get through to see it through to the end. But yeah, we read books here on a stream, and then later in the day we usually come back and there's some gaming going on. But I don't restream that over to Twitch or whatever. So anyway, that is what we are doing here. Lady Death says me. I'm the friend. Okay, yeah, there was someone else over there. Was an Ian there not so long ago. Lady Death. There was an Ian over there. Yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that, just in case people are like, "Wow, this is like brand new here on Twitch." I'm like, "Well, yeah, it's kind of old news over on Mixer." Yeah. Okay, let's get back to our thing here. Where we at? Back to our book. Chapter 5. Oh, and Tillable Cat's here. Tillable Cat. So everyone's here now. Okay, very good. We're going to finish up this here to the end of chapter 6, actually, which is all that's written in this. And then, Kate is here, and Tillable Cat is here. And why is this extra important today? It's always nice to have them here, of course. But those two, Kate and Tillable Cat, have sent in short stories to share with you all. So that's going to be very cool. But we're going to finish with our beetle thing there, and then we'll be able to hop into that. It's going to be great. It's going to be really awesome. Yeah. Chapter 5. Doomed. There were no means known to Tommy of reckoning time in that strange place of twilight. His watch had been broken in the airplane fall, and Dodd never remembered to wind his, but they estimated that about 2 weeks had passed, judging from the number of times they had slept and eaten. In those 2 weeks they had gradually begun to grow accustomed to their surroundings. Hydia, the girl, had arrived on Beetleback within an hour after Brahm's departure, apparently into a cleft of the rocks. How he had communicated his order to the beetle steeds, Tommy had no idea, and under the girl's ministrations, Dodd was making good progress toward recovery. That Hydia was in love with Dodd was in quite a human way was evident. It does. Skip's all excited. That Hydia was in love with Dodd in quite a human way was evident. To please the girl, both Dodd and Tommy had learned to eat the raw shrimps, which, being bloodless, were really no worse than oysters, and had a flavor halfway between shrimp and crawfish. To please the men, Hydia tried not to shudder when she saw them devouring the breadfruit and nectarines of which Brahm always had a plentiful supply. Brahm was solicitous in his inquiries for Dodd's health. "Jim, I've been thinking about our chances of getting away," said Tommy one morning. "It's evident Brahm's only waiting for your recovery to put some proposition up to us. Suppose you were to feign paralysis." "How do you mean? What for?" demanded Dodd. "If he thinks you are helpless, he'll be less on his guard. You haven't walked about in his presence." That was true, for the activities of the two had been nocturnal when Brahm had vanished. Let him think a nerve's been severed in your neck or something of the sort. If it doesn't work, you can always get better. Dodd's realistic portrayal of a man with a partly paralyzed right side brought cries of horror from Bram next morning. Solicitously, he helped Dodd back to the couch. Bram, when not feeling under the influence of his drug, had moments of human feeling. "Can't you move that arm and leg at all, Dodd?" he asked. "No feeling in them?" "There's plenty of feeling," growled Dodd, "but they don't seem to work, that's all." "You'll get better," said Bram eagerly. "You must get better. I need you, Dodd, in spite of our differences. There's work for all of us, wonderful work. A new humanity, waiting to be born, Dodd. Not of the miserable ape race, but of... Good morning, Chris. What's up, Chris? He checked himself, and a cunning look came over his face. He turned away abruptly. At the end of 2 weeks or so, an amazing thing happened. One day, Hydia, with a look of triumph in her eyes, addressed Dodd with a few English words. Her brain, which had probably developed certain faculties in different proportions from those of the upper human race, had registered every word that either of the two men had ever spoken, and remembered it. As soon as Dodd ascertained this, he began to instruct her, and with her abnormal faculties of memory, it was not long before she could talk quite intelligently. The obstacle that had stood between them was swept away. She became one of themselves. In the days that followed, the girl told them brokenly something of the history of her race, of the legend of the universal flood that had driven them down into the bowels of the earth, of the centuries-long struggle with the beetles, and of the insects' gradual conquest of humanity, and the final reduction of the human race to a miserable, helpless remnant. Everywhere, Hydia told them, were beetle swarms. Everywhere humanity had been reduced to a few handfuls. Bram, by breeding mankind from prolific strains and using the newborn progeny for food, had temporarily averted universal starvation. But a new swarm of beetles was due to hatch out shortly, and then... The girl, with a shudder, put her hand to her bosom and brought out a little bright-eyed lizard. "The old man you saw with me, who was one of our wise elders, has told our people that these things feed upon the beetle larva," she said. "We are putting them secretly into the nests, but what can a few lizards do against millions?" She looked up. "In the earth above us, the beetle larvae extend for miles in a solid mass," she said. "When they come out as beetles, it will be the end of all of us." Bram had grown less suspicious as the time passed. His sudden visits to the cavern had ceased. Dodd and Tommy knew that he spent the nights, if they could be termed nights, lying in a drugged slumber somewhere among the rocks. They had asked Hydia whether there was any way of escape into the upper world. "There are 2 ways from here," answered the girl. "One is the way you came, but it is impossible to pass the beetle guards without being torn to pieces. The other—" She shuddered, and for an instant drew back the film from across her pupils, then uttered a little cry of pain at the light, dim though it was. "There is a bridge across that terrible monster that devours all it touches," she said, shuddering, meaning the fire. Where's the Minecraft button? We got a Minecraft banner? Oh, yeah, that's the stream avatars thing, yeah. But yeah, it's supposed to look like Minecraft. Suddenly, Dodd had an inspiration. He still had the fur coat that he had worn, and reaching into a pocket, he drew out a pair of snow goggles, which he adjusted over Hydia's nose. "Now look," he said. Hydia looked, blinked, and with an effort kept her eyes open. She gazed at Dodd in amazement. Dodd laughed and pulled her toward him. He kissed her, and Heidi's eyes closed. "What is this?" she murmured. "First you give me medicine that opens my eyes, and then you give me medicine that closes them." "That's nothing," grinned Dodd. "Wait till you understand me better." Boy, oh boy. Yeah, this is... Man alive. All right, here we go. Brahm's eyes were preternaturally bright. It was evident that he had been increasing his dose of late, and that he was fully under the influence of it now. "Well, gentlemen, the time has come for us to be frank with one another," he said, as the three were gathered about the little table, while Heidi crouched in a far corner of the cave. "I want you to work for me in my plans for the regeneration of humanity. The time for which I have long labored is almost at hand. Any day now, the new swarm of beetles may emerge from the pupal stage. But before I speak further, come and see them, gentlemen." He rose, and Dodd and Tommy rose too, Tommy supporting Dodd, who let his arm and leg trail awkwardly as he moved. Brahm led the way into the cleft among the rocks into which he had been in the habit of passing. Beyond this opening, the two men saw another smaller cavern, with a beetle guard standing on either side, antenna waving. Brahm shrilled a sound, and the antenna dropped. The three passed through. Tommy saw a haircloth pallet set against the rocks, a table and a chair. Beyond was a sloping ramp of earth. Overhead was a rock ceiling. Brahm led the way up the ramp, and the three stepped through a gap in the rocks and found themselves on an extensive prairie. But in place of the red grass, there was a vast sea of mud. By the light cast by the petrol fire, which roared up in the distance, a veritable fiery fountain, the two Americans could see that the mud was filled with huge encysted forms, grubs 3 or 4 feet long, motionless in the soil. Brahm scooped up. I mean, that's totally reminding me of that, of the Pillar of Life from She. Probably crib notes from all kinds of other adventure stories too in this. When was She written? Brahm scooped up one of them and tossed it into the air. It thudded to their feet and remained motionless. "As far as you can see, and for miles beyond, these pupae of the beetles lie buried in the decaying vegetation in which the eggs were hatched," said Brahm. "Every century and a half, so far as I have been able to judge from comparative anatomy, a fresh swarm emerges. See?" He pointed to the pupa he had unearthed, which, as if stirred into activity by his handling, was now beginning to move. Or rather, something was moving inside the cocoon. The shell broke, and the hideous head and folded antennae of a beetle appeared. With a convulsive writhing, the monster threw off the covering and stepped out. It extended its wings, glistening with moisture from the still soft and pliant carapace, or shell, and suddenly zoomed off into the distance. Tom has to go now? Okay, well, you have a great Sunday there. Enjoy the rest of your day, Tom. Thank you for spending a little time with us. Yeah, well, I hope to see you later. Tommy shuddered as the boom of its flight grew softer and subsided. "Any day now, the entire swarm will emerge," cried Brahm. "How many moltings they undergo before they undergo the finished state, I do not know, but already, as you see, they are prepared for the battle of life. They emerge ravenous. That beetle will fall upon the man-herds and devour a full-grown man, unless the gods destroy it." He raised his arms with the gesture of an ancient prophet. "Woe to the human race," he cried, "the wretched ape spawn that has cast out its teachers and persecuted those who sought to raise it to higher things." Tommy knew that Brom was referring to himself. Brom turned fiercely upon Dodd. "When I joined the Greystoke expedition," he cried, "it was with the express intention of refuting your miserable theories as to the fossil monotremes. I could not sleep or eat, so deeply was I affronted by them. For if they were true, the Desiridae are an innovation in the great scheme of nature, and man, instead of being a mere afterthought, a jest of the creative force, came to earth with a purpose." "That I deny," he yelled. "Man is a joke. Nature made him when she was tired, as the architect of a cathedral fashions a gargoyle in a sportive moment. It is the insect, not man, who is the predestined lord of the ages." And for once in his life, perhaps because at this point Tommy dug him violently in the ribs, Dodd had the sense to remain silent. Brom led the way swiftly back into the larger cave. "When this swarm hatches out," he said, "I calculate that there will be 1,000,000,000,000 beetles seeking food. There is no food for a tithe of them here, underneath the earth. What then? Do you realize their stupendous power, their invincibility? No, you don't realize it, because your minds, through long habit, are only attuned to think in terms of man. All man's long history of slaughter of the so-called lesser creatures obsesses you, blinds your understanding. A beetle, something to be trodden underfoot, crushed in sport. But I tell you, gentlemen, that nature, God if you will, has designed to supplant the man-ape by the beetle. He has resolved to throw down the wretched so-called intelligence of your kind and mine, and supplant it with the divine instinct of the beetle. An instinct that is infinitely superior because it arrives at results instantaneously. It knows where man infers. Attuned closely to nature, it alone is able to fulfill the divine plan of creation." Brom was certainly under the influence of his drug. Nevertheless, so violent were his gestures, so inspired was his utterance, that Tommy and Dodd listened almost in awe. "They are invincible," Brom went on. "Their fecundity is such that when the new swarm is hatched out, their numbers alone will make them irresistible. They do not know fear, they shrink from nothing, and they will follow me, their leader, I, who knows the means of controlling them. How then can puny man hope to stand against them?" "Join me, gentlemen," Brom went on, "and beware how you decide rashly. For this is the supreme moment, not only of your own lives, but for all humanity and beetledom. Upon your decision hangs the future of the world. For irresistible as the beetles are, there is one thing they lack. That is the sense of historic continuity. If they destroy man, they will know nothing of man's achievements, poor though these are. My own work on the fossil monotremes, which is a tissue of inaccuracies and half-baked deductions," shouted Dodd. Brom started as if a whip had lashed him. "Liar!" he bawled. Do you think that I, who left the Greystoke expedition in a howling blizzard, because I knew that here in the earth I could refute your miserable impostures, do you think that I am in the mood to listen to your wretched farrago of impossibilities? Listen to me, bawled Dodd, advancing with waving arms. Once and for all, let me tell you that your deductions are all based upon fallacious premises. No, I will not shut up, Tom Travers. You want me to aid your damned beetles in the destruction of humanity? I tell you that your Phascalotherium, Amphitherium, and all the rest of them, including the marsupial lion, are degenerate developments of the age following the Pleistocene. I say the whole insect world was made to fertilize the plant world so that it should bear fruit for human food. Man is the summit of the scale of evolution, and I will never join in any infamous scheme for his destruction. Brom glared at Dodd like a madman. 3 times he opened his mouth to speak, but only inarticulate sounds came from his throat. And when at last he did speak, he said something that neither Dodd nor Tommy had anticipated. It looks as if you were not so paralyzed as you made out, he sneered. You'll change your mind within what used to be called a day, Dodd. You'll crawl to my feet and beg for pardon. And you'll recant your lying theories about fossil monotremes, or you die. The pair of you. You die. Alrighty. Woo. Okay. He's, You will die like dogs. No! We will fight like lions! I don't know. Just gonna take a little break here, get a little sip of coffee down the old whistle there. Alrighty. Woo. Okay, so yeah, okay, where are we at? So we've got one more chapter of this to go. One more chapter of some very, very pulpy science fiction. Very pulpy. Hollow Earth. We got some beetles running around, ready to take over humanity. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Yeah. Oh. Before the Face of the Sea, a Finnish film that skates on the edge. Yeah, it could be cool. Yeah, Movie Silently has got a really, really good Twitter account. Really good. What's up there, Bandy Kestrel or Shaken? How you doing? Yeah, we're just in between chapters right now. We're going to hop back in just a couple of minutes. Woo! For those who are just joining us, by the way, this is what we are reading. We are reading Astounding Stories of Super Science. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of short stories, and we're actually doing one of the longer ones, breaking it up over a couple of weeks. What, Channel 1's here? What? What's Channel 1 doing here? That's how I like Channel 1 being here. Yes, I do. Yes. Channel 1 in the house. Good morning, Channel 1. How are you all doing? I'm sure there's a bunch of AFK people in Channel 1. It is, hey, Halo Collector. Yeah, it is. It's very, normally they don't hit me up till the evening sometime. Yeah, or late night. Like literally, like, as soon as I say, okay, and time to call it a night, bloop, in comes the Channel 1. That's normally how it goes. Yeah. So, but anyway, welcome Channel 1. How you all doing? Let me just introduce myself, I guess. Good morning. Let me change scenes real fast, too. We'll get back to our book in just a second. Anyway, hi there. My name is Stephen J. Carrington. What do? I read books. Here on Mixer, I read about 40 hours every month. We work our way through novels. We're starting a brand new novel tomorrow. It's going to be pretty awesome. The Zane Grey Western. It's going to be good. And then on Sundays, like today, we have Short Story Sunday, where we read short stories. And later in the evening, we're going to be having a movie night. We're going to be watching a movie. And we also do some gaming. We do gaming as well. We play a lot of Halo, play a lot of Gears. Trying to get some MMOs going there. It's a little bit of Neverwinter, trying that bad boy out. And but yeah, for the most part, it's all about the book reading. So if you do like audio books, if you like just chilling out while someone is reading you a story, most of them are pretty good. Yeah, throw us a follow, give us a follow, and hit that notification bell too. Yeah, the one that that'll let you know. It lets you know when I go live, so you don't want to miss any story time. Not with the Carrington. No. Just give it out. Oh, yeah, Rose is tired. Was not too tired to hook us up with a follow. I appreciate that. Thank you. Very nice. Yeah. Skip Donahue's all. Yeah. I like it. Okay, so that's how that goes. All right, and of course, don't forget throwing hosts is cool. And if you do enjoy the stream, let your friends on social media know. Mixer.com/CarringtonTV. Throw that into your Twitter. Throw that into your Facebook, and just be like, hey, we found this Carrington guy up on Mixer. He reads really, really good stories. You should give him a listen. Anyway, here we go. Chapter 6. We got to get on with it. We got stories to read. Oh, not only are we doing novels, but we have creative writers who tune into the stream, and from time to time they send me in things to read. So if you are a creative writer looking to share a story or a tale or even a piece of nonfiction or just something creative, let me know. We'll read it on stream. Yeah, we will. Yep, Tellable Cat is here. So is Kate. Kate and both of them. It's going to be exciting. And we're going to be reading that after this chapter. Okay. Chapter 6, Escape. I heard what he said. You shall not die. We shall go away to your place, where there are no beetles to eat us, even if... Hydia shuddered. Even if we have to cross the bridge of fire, beyond which they tell me lies freedom. High over and a little to one side of the petrol flame, Dodd and Tommy had seen the slender arch of rock leading into another cleft in the rocks. They had investigated it several times, but always the fierce heat had driven them back. Both Dodd and Tommy had noticed, however, that at times the fire seemed to shrink in volume and intensity. Observation had shown them that these times were periodical, recurring about once every 12 hours. I think I've got the clue, Tommy, said Dodd, as the three watched the fiery fountain and speculated on the possibility of escape. Hey there, Pocket Cartoon. Hello to you, too. Skip Donahue says, pity the fool that don't follow the Carrington. I do, too. I think I've got the clue, Tommy, said Dodd, as the three watched the fiery fountain and speculated on the possibility of escape. That flow of petrol is controlled, like the tides on Earth, by the pull of the moon. Just now it's at its height. I've noticed that it loses pretty nearly half its volume at its alternating phase. If I'm right, we'll make the attempt in about 12 hours. Brahm's giving us 24, said Tommy. But how about getting Hydia across? I go where you go, said Hydia, sidling up to Dodd and looking down upon him lovingly. I do not afraid of the fire. If it burn me up, I go to the good place. Where's that, Hydia? asked Dodd. When we die, we go to a place where it is always dark, and there are no beetles, and the ground is full of shrimps. We leave our bodies behind, like the beetles, and fly about, happy forever. Not a bad sort of place, said Dodd, squeezing Hydia's arm. If you think you're ready to try to cross the bridge, we'll start as soon as the fire gets lower. I'll be on the job, answered Hydia, unconsciously reproducing a phrase of Tommy's. Pocket Cartoon is out of here. All right. Good night to you too, Pocket Cartoon. The girl glided away and disappeared through the thick of the beetle crowd clustered about the entrance to the cavern. Tommy and Dodd had already discovered that it was through her ability to reproduce a certain beetle sound, meaning not good to eat, that the girl could come and go. They had once tried it on their own account and had narrowly escaped the lashing tentacles. "Hey, Star Punch, what's up?" After that, there was nothing to do but wait, and thank you for the follow, It's Bunny. 3 or 4 hours must have passed when Brahm returned from his inner cave. "Well, Dodd, have you experienced a change of heart?" he sneered. "If you knew what's in store for you, maybe you'd come to the conclusion that you've been too cocksure about the monotremes we're slaughtering in the morning." "That so?" asked Dodd. "That's so?" shouted Brahm. "The beetles are beginning to emerge from the pupae, and they'll need food if they're to be kept quiet. We're rounding up about 70 of the cowls. Your friend Hydia will be among them. We've got some caged ichneumon flies, pretty little things, only a foot long, which will sting them in certain nerve centers, rendering them powerless to move. Then we shall bury them, standing up in the vegetable mold, for the beetles to devour alive as soon as they come out of the shells. You'll feel pretty, Dodd, standing there unable to move, with the newborn beetles biting chunks out of you." Woolliest Moss says, "What the heck is this?" Oh, you missed my little blurb earlier. I read books on Mixer. Yeah, let me just humor Mr. Moss here for just a minute. I do. This is the book we've just finished. Monday through Thursday, we work our way through novels. This was a murder mystery. It was a bit of a satire of Sherlock Holmes and Agatha Christie novels. Whose Body by Dorothy L. Sayers. So Monday through Thursday, we work our way through novels. On Sundays, we'd have Short Story Sunday, like today, which is just short stories and poems and creative writings from people like maybe you. I don't know. Are you a creative writer? I don't know. Very good. That's what. And then we do gaming in the evening. Yeah, we have a good time with that too. So it'll. I think that answers your question there. Tommy shuddered, despite his hopes of their escaping. Brahm, for a scientist, had a grim and picturesque imagination. "Dodd, there is no personal quarrel between us," Brahm went on. Again that note of pathetic pleading came into his voice. "Give up your mad ideas. Admit that the banded anteater, at least, existed before the Pleistocene epoch, and everything can be settled. When you see what my beetles are going to do to humanity, you'll be proud to join us. Only make a beginning. You remember the point I made in my paper about Spalacotherium in the Upper Jurassic rocks? It would convince anybody but a hardened fanatic." "I read your paper, and I saw your so-called Spalacotherium reconstructed from what you called jawbone," shouted Dodd. "That so-called jawbone was a lump of chalk made porous by water, and the rest was in your imagination. Do your worst, Brahm. I'll never crucify truth to save my life, and I'll laugh at your Spalacotherium when your beetles are eating me." Brahm yelled and shrieked. He stamped up and down the cavern, shaking his fists at Dodd. At last, with a final torrent of objurgation, he disappeared. "A pleasant customer," said Tommy. "We'll have to make that bridge, Jim, no question about it, even if it means death in the petrol fire." "Fire's dying down fast," answered Dodd. "Hydia ought to be here soon." "Well, if Brahm hasn't got her." "Brahm got that girl. If Brahm harms a hair of her head, I'll kill him with worse tortures than he's ever dreamed of. answered Dodd, leaping up, white with rage. You mean you... Tommy began. Love her? Yes, I love her, shouted Dodd. She's a girl in a million, just the sort of helpmate I need to assist me in my work when we get back. I tell you, Tommy, I didn't know what love meant before I saw Hydia. I laughed at it as a romantic notion. Oh, lyric love, half angel and half bird, he quoted, beginning to stride up and down the cavern, while Tommy watched him in amazement. And at this moment a complete beetle entered the cave. Complete because it had a plastron or breast shell as well as a back shell or carapace. Alrighty. Woo! Yeah. That's right, the beast. Not only question mark, I would be WTF question mark. Oh, how do you say that? Nekazrofat. Interesting name. Thank you for that. Thank you. There we go. A double breast shell. A new species of beetle. An executioner beetle sent by Brahm to summon them to torture. Tommy shuddered, but Dodd, lost in his love ecstasy, was ignorant of the creature's advent. Oh, lyric love, he shouted again as he twirled on his heel to run smack into the monster. The crack of Dodd's head against the beetle shell re-echoed through the cave. The double plastron dropped, the carapace fell down. Hydia stood revealed. The lovers, folded in each other's arms, passed momentarily into a trance. It was Tommy who separated them. We'll have to make a move, he said. I think the fire's as low as it ever gets. Why did you bring the shells, Hydia? To save us from all the beetles, answered the girl. When they see us in the shells, they will not know we are human. That is what makes it so hard to have to be eaten by those beetles when they are such dumbbells, she added, reproducing another of Tommy's words. Come, she continued bravely, let us see if we can pass the fire. Man, there are so many tropes from other books popping up in this. I mean, aside from like being a Pellucidar kind of thing from Edgar Rice Burroughs, they're going to try and escape the exact same way that they did in Pellucidar by dressing up in the skins of the monsters they're trying to escape from. Good Lord. I mean, those books are fun too, but whatever. Good stuff. So they're Luke Watts. What's going on? It's Bunny. Good morning. Yeah, all right. We'll continue. The roaring fountain made the air a veritable inferno. Overhead, the rocks were red hot. A cascade of sparks tumbled in a fiery shower from the rock roof. Dodd, holding Hydia in his arms to protect her, staggered ahead, with Tommy in the rear. Only the beetle shells, which acted as non-conductors of the heat, made that fiery passage possible. Hey, Metal Guru. Yeah, it's been good. It's been a good day so far. There was one moment when it seemed to Tommy as if he must let go and drop into that raging furnace underneath. He heard Dodd bawling hoarsely in front of him. He nerved himself to a last effort, beating fiercely at his blazing hair. And then the heat was past, and he had dropped unconscious upon a bed of cool earth beside a rushing river. He was vaguely aware of being carried in Dodd's arms, but a long time seemed to have passed before he grew conscious again. He opened his eyes in the utter darkness. Dodd was whispering into them. "Tommy, old man, how are you feeling now?" Dodd asked. All right," Tommy muttered. "How's Hydia?" "Still unconscious, poor girl. We've got to get out of here. I heard Brahm yelling in the distance. He's discovered our flight. There may be another way out of the cave, and if so, he'll stop at nothing to get us. See if you can stand, but keep your head low. There's a low roof of rock above us." Oh. "There's water," said Tommy, listening to the roar of a torrent that seemed to be rushing past them.
It's a stream, and I believe these shells will float and bear our weight. We've got to try. We've got to put everything to the touch now, Tommy. I'm going to lay Heidi on one of the shells, poor girl, and start her off. Then I'll follow, and you can bring up the rear."
"I'm with you," said Tommy, getting upon his feet, and uttering an exclamation of pain, as, forgetful of Dodd's injunction, he let his head strike the rock roof overhead. Channel 1 is out of here. Have a great day, Channel 1. In the darkness, he felt the outlines of his beetle shell lying beside the torrent. He could hear Dodd in front of him, grunting as he raised Heidi's unconscious form in his arms and deposited her in her shell. Tommy got his own shell into the stream and held it there as the waters swirled around it. "Ready?" he heard Dodd call. Before he could answer, there sounded from not far away, yet strangely muffled by the rocks, Brahm's bellow of fury. Brahm was evidently fully drugged and beside himself. Inarticulate threats came floating through the rocky chamber.
"Brahm seems to have lost his head temporarily," called Dodd, laughing. "A madman, Tommy. He insists that the marsupial lion—"
"Yes, I heard you telling him about it," answered Tommy. "You handed it to him straight. However, more about the marsupial lion later. I'm ready."
"Then let her go," called Dodd, and his words were swallowed up by the sound of the hollow shell striking against the rocky bank as he launched his strange craft into the water. Tommy set one foot into the hollow of his shell and let himself go. Instantly the shell shot forward with fearful velocity. It was all Tommy could do to balance himself, for it seemed more unstable than a canoe. Once or twice he thought he heard Dodd shouting ahead of him, but his cries were drowned in the rush of the torrent. Suddenly a light appeared in the distance. Tommy thought it was another of the petroleum fountains, and his heart seemed to stand still. But then he gave a gasp of relief. It was a cluster of luminous fungi, 10 or 12 feet tall, emitting a glow equal to that of a dozen 40-watt electric light bulbs. By that infernal light, Tommy could see that the stream curved sharply. It was about 50 feet in width, and the low rock roof had receded to some 15 feet overhead. Instead of a tunnel, there was nothing on either side of them but a vast tract of marshy ground, thinly coated with the red grass. As Tommy looked, he saw the shell that carried the unconscious body of Heidi strike the bank beside the phosphorescent growth. He could see the girl lying in the hollow of the shell, as pale as death, her eyes closed. Dodd was close behind. As the swirl of the current caught his shell, he turned to shout a warning to Tommy. And Tommy noticed a singular thing, of which his sense of balance had already warned him, though he had hardly given conscious thought to the matter. The river was running uphill. Of course it was, since the center of gravity was in the shell of the earth, and not in the center. But again, the shell of the earth was under their feet. Then Tommy hit on the solution to the problem. If the river was running uphill, that meant that they must be near the exterior of the earth. In other words, they had passed the center of gravity. They must be within a mile or so of the exit from Submundia. Tommy was about to shout his discovery to Dodd when his shell grounded beside the two others at the base of the clump of fungi. Huge, straight, hollow stems they were, with mushroom caps, and like all fungi, fly-blown, for Tommy could see worms nearly a foot in length crawling in and out of the porous stalks. The stench from the growth was nauseating and overpowering, utterly sickening. "Push off, and let's get out of here," Tommy called to Dodd, who was balancing his shell against the bank and trying to peer into Heidi's face. At that moment he caught sight of something that made his blood turn cold. It was an insect, fully 15 feet in height, 3 times that of a beetle, lurking among the fungi. He saw a hugely elongated neck, a 3-cornered head with a pair of tentacles, and 2 pairs of legs as long as a giraffe's. But what gave the added touch of horror was that the monster, balancing itself on its hind legs, had its forelegs extended in the attitude of one holding a prayer book. That attitude of devotion was so terrible that Tommy uttered a wild cry of terror. At the same time, another cry broke from Dodd's lips. "God, a praying mantis!" he shouted, struggling madly to push off his shell and hide ears. The next moment, as if shot from a catapult, the hideous monster launched itself into the air, straight toward them. To be concluded in the February edition. Yeah. Well, that's where we're going to be ending that particular one today. We'll pick up with that again on, next Sunday. That is just straight up pulp excitement. Seriously, yeah. That's good. I liked it. Ends on a cliffhanger. They know how to do that. Do they make it? I don't know. You have to tune in and find out. I think they're going to be eaten. I think all three of them are going to be eaten. And like, it's just going to be like one chapter next week. Maybe two, like if someone finds their bones 100 years later. That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it. Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, it is a big cliffhanger. So here's the plan. Yeah, let's gonna change our scenes real fast here for just a minute. Very good. Okay, so that's that was a big short story there. I need to load up something else here. Okay, so let's see. So starting tomorrow, the Lone Star Ranger. I'm gonna see how that one turns out. Let's see how that one a Zane Grey novel. We've read something by Zane Grey before. Riders of the Purple Sage. Gonna see how this one comes out. Anyway, so we got two short stories to read, written by you. That's right. We have some creative writers in our midst here. Creative writers. So yeah, first up is going to be Kate's The Traveler. And after that, we have... Did I import it? Yeah, I did. Oh, yeah, so, actually, the question I had for Tillable Cat is I don't even know how to pronounce that thing. Pasanka? Yeah, I tried looking it up on the web, and there's no... I couldn't find I had a brief look. I couldn't find anyone, like an actual person, saying it. I found a bunch of text-to-speech recordings of it, and they're all different, because... Yeah, so I'm not quite sure the exact way to pronounce it properly. Why is that not working? Maybe because they don't play it. They haven't played any streamed anything. That's probably why. Right now, it isn't that good. What's that? SoCal killed us all? Oh boy. What? Right now, what's not so good? We're gonna read it anyway. It'll be good. I did do a little bit of light editing there, but yeah, I don't know. Okay, so here we go. This is let me change our thing here. This is the Traveler. Banana, 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 banana. There we go. Bloop. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be good. Here we go. Let's do it. We're gonna. There's no need to be nervous. It's all good. It's raining and thundering, and Rhiannon by Fleetwood Mac is banging. We shouldn't forget how beautiful. Rhiannon by Fleetwood Mac. Ah. Very cool. All right. Yeah, we're okay. This will be fine. This will be fine. Here we go. We're gonna give it a read. The Traveler by Kate.
You'll be fine. May 18th, 1994, 3:34 a.m. A mother is comforting a crying baby girl. "It's okay, my baby girl." She holds the baby to her sweaty chest. The father grins and wraps his arms around his wife and new daughter. "What do you think of that name I told you about earlier, dear?" His wife looks up at him with a questioning look. "Elizabeth." He nods. She looks at their daughter deep in thought, and after a minute she looks at him. "What about Eliza?" May 18th, 1999. That's 5 years later? Yeah. It's Eliza's birthday, and the guests are arriving. Some of the parents are talking in the kitchen, and some are watching the kids in the living room. Everyone was laughing and having a good time. Elizabeth is playing with her friends. They were pretending they were dinosaurs. In the doorway to the living room from the kitchen stood a strange man. He was tall and wore a black suit with a blue tie. He had long dark hair tied in a ponytail. His face was clean-shaved and had stern blue-gray eyes, and in the right light you can see the bright blue flecks in them. He stood out among the group, but he didn't care. He knew something was going to happen. He had a feeling. He keeps an eye on Eliza because he knows that there is something about her that brought him there. Out of the corner of his eye, he sees her parents whispering to each other. He knows they are trying to figure out if either of them invited him. Of course neither did, he thought to himself. Then he heard the familiar swish and pop. He saw the girl was back. He looked at his pocket watch. Impressive. About a minute. Guess young ones are strong, or at least this one is. Then the children and parents were screaming. He looked up to see that Eliza brought a velociraptor back with her. She looked so proud of herself. See, I told you I could." Her parents started freaking out, not sure what to do. The stranger gracefully walked up to them. "Get everyone out of this house, or out of the room." "What exactly are you going to do, sir? Is that even real?" said her father. "We'll explain everything later in private." Her parents got everyone out of the room. Eliza trailed behind a bit, only to hide behind the corner of the doorway. She was curious to see what this man was going to do. It was her pet. She went and got it herself. Once everyone was out of the room, the stranger grabbed the velociraptor and disappeared with a swish and pop. What was left behind his disappearance was light blue wisps of smoke. Eliza's eyes widened with shock and anger. Once the man came back, she ran up to him, started pushing and screaming at him. Her parents came running in and grabbed her away. Oh, we're so sorry." He bowed gracefully. "It's not a problem. Let me introduce myself. My name is Angelo, and I will explain everything and answer all of your questions." Angelo explained everything to her parents, and when she was 16, her parents explained to her, and Angelo came and talked to her too. Now she's 26 and bored. He had the day off from work. Should that be she? She had the day off from work, she thought. She thought about going into the past and changing her chances with the handsome man that got away, or her dad's death again. Angelo would be mad. "I know Angelo said I'm not supposed to go into the past, not even into the future, but to hell with that." She stood up and swished and popped away. She popped into the coffee shop where she met him. She hides at the corner table and watches herself fumble over herself, talking to him. When the exact moment where he goes to leave, she gets up and runs after him to try and somehow change that little moment. That's when she hears a booming, annoying voice Stop. Time froze. She looked around for the man the voice that it belonged to. She finally spotted him. He still wore the same black suit with a blue tie, but instead of long hair, he cut it short and styled it, and he isn't clean-shaved. He has a 5 o'clock shadow. "What the heck, Angelo?" He raised an elegant eyebrow. "I was so close, man." "That's what you said the last time." She looked away with a pained look on her face. She felt his strong, rough hand turn her face back into his direction. "How many times do I have to tell you that the past is the past? It can't be changed or altered. We are to be in the present and look to the future." "Then what's the point of being able to go wherever I want in time?" "When we are needed, that will be our time. But until then, there isn't one, I guess." He sighed. "Okay. This is what I'll do for you. I will take you to talk to one person in the past, but after I will erase all memory of talking to you. Then I will let you look at a moment into the future, so long as you don't do anything to speed it up or do anything to affect it too much." She looked at him, surprised, then nodded. "All right. Then I agree to your terms." There was a silent pause. "Your dad?" She nodded. "Okay." He grabbed her hand and popped them into the MRI room and froze time just before something was going to happen. "You're cruel," she said with tears brimming in her eyes. "Am I?" She sighed. She gathered herself together and looked at her father. "Okay, I'm ready." Angelo unfroze her father, and... "Eliza," she smiled. Oh, no, that's not what the father's got the normal voice. "Eliza," she smiled. "Eliza, what are you doing here? Wait, how did you get in here?" She hushed him. "Dad, I love you. You are the best, Dad. Yeah, we fought and argued, but that never changed my thought on that. I'm glad you are my dad." She hugged him. When she pulled away, she saw a smile on his face. Then he was frozen again. She felt a hand on her shoulder. "You know I'm not going to erase it." "But you said—" I'll take the heat for it. I am responsible after all." They popped away to a park. "Where are we?" she asked. He pointed east of them. "Just look over there." She looked in the direction he pointed and smiled at the sight she saw. She grabbed Angelo's hand. "Let's go." And they popped away. An older woman hears a familiar swish and pop, one that she hasn't heard in a long time. She looked in the direction she heard it and saw light blue wisps of smoke. Her husband stopped a second from playing with their son. "What is it, honey?" She shook her head. "Nothing, dear, just reminiscing." She watches the blue smoke when her son came up to her and grabbed her hand. "Mommy, when is Uncle Angelo coming?" Man, okay. Well, there we go. Well, thank you very much, Kate. Yeah, that's very cool. Very cool. All right. Yeah, time travel is always a very, very tricky thing to keep track of. It is. Yeah, there's, I don't know, is this one of those things, can you change the past? I assume you've read the, I think it's the Ray Bradbury story, The Sound of Thunder. Yeah, snap. That's very cool. That's very cool, Kate. Yeah. So yeah, given the I mean, if it's raises that big question. I mean, if you do have the power to do things, and not even necessarily time travel, but if you have an ability to alter things in the past or present, or should you? Should you? I don't know. And that's one of those questions that philosophers are going to keep arguing about for like a long time. Is the father dead in her time? No, I think she is. I think she has removed herself from the timeline. At least that's the impression I got. Because when she goes to revisit the altered family, they instead of a daughter, they have a son. Oh, her father is dead? Oh, her father's dead in the current one, right? But she goes back, somehow changes it, and then when she visits them again, there's a son, and there's I don't know, might have to think about it. Anyway, oh wow, boy. Halo Collector thinks time travel only matters to the traveler. Father's still dead? All right. Well, maybe drop like a little paragraph about it in Discord there. The end is her future. Ah. Interesting. Very cool, very cool. But yeah, you should yeah, that was good read. It's got me thinking a lot about that that Ray Bradbury story, A Sound of Thunder. A very cool story. But yeah, I mean, what do we that is it, Skip. That is the short story. That is the short story. Very cool. Alrighty, very nice. Well, thank you for sharing. Well, I hope you're not. I hope you're not all shy now. See? Now you've had your big thing. You've done all that. The butterfly. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, the butterfly one. A Sound of Thunder. Yeah, movie night's coming up. Hey there, Bat Games. What's going on? It's changing our stream title here. That was very cool. That was The Traveler by Kate. Thank you. And the next one is the... One second, let me spell it right. Writing a Pysanka for Baba. Right. Writing a Pysanka for Baba. This is by Tillable Cat. Ba-da-ba-bum, 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 ba-da-ba. Yep. The clarification's always good. We'll get it figured out. Okay, so next up is a short story by Tillable Cat, and like I mentioned, I'm not quite sure if I'm saying this word right, Pysanka. If that is correct, that's awesome. If it's not, please let me know. Like I said, I tried looking it up, but I can only find text-to-speech pronunciation guides for it, and that's not the best way to do that. So there we go. Once you time travel, you can never return to the universe you left. I don't know, man. I don't know. Here's the thing. It's like, yeah, I mean, time travel is, it's a pretty awesome concept, but the one thing I don't like about it, and a lot of people do that, is the alternate universe timelines. So you can have like an infinite amount of timelines all going on. And Robert Heinlein, he was all about that crazy stuff. But that it also makes the whole experience of time travel kind of meaningless in a lot of ways. It makes your actions meaningless for it. Even in the new Star Trek, the movie is one there. Yeah, because how they meet up with Spock, but it's Spock on an alternate timeline, so everything's a little different. So if you have infinite amounts of timelines, your actions are just like minimized because it's already not happening, or the event is not happening elsewhere already in a different area, and you're no longer a unique person. If there's an infinite amount of you on different timelines, all doing things like a little differently, then that, and at least to me, it doesn't have like the same impact of you doing one thing which alters everything, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Pisanka. Pisanki. All right. Okay, looks like Catbot got you there. Thank you, BWH, but I got it. Rick and Morty. Yeah. You'd never truly be dead. What? I don't know. But yeah, Robert Heinlein. Yeah, he like I'm thinking back to some of his books there, like the Number of the Beast and The Cat Who Walks Through Walls. I'm trying to think of other books. There's a whole series of those books that like set in one particular universe where. Yeah, there were all kinds of bizarre things going on with alternate timelines, duplicate universes, and everything. It was kind of weird. All right, it was a good time, though. Good time. All right. So, okay, we're going to get on with our next story in just 1 minute. I just wanted to remind people, first of all, thank you for tuning in. Second of all, if you are enjoying this, don't forget to... Oh, there we go. Just like Glass Inco. Just like Glass Inco did. Just what there. He said, I'm watching Carrington TV's awesome stream. Check it out and subscribe here. So thank you very much for that, Glass Inco. Was that the I think that was using the automatic share buttons, yeah. So beneath the stream, beneath the video, or if you're watching on the app, it's in the top right-hand corner, there's share buttons. You can share this stream with your friends on social media. You can even write a little note saying why you watch it. I don't know why. I don't know. The easiest answer is that there's no time travel. I don't know. Infinite reality makes everyone yeah. And so but it also reduces you to like being just one of like a zillion other copies, just doing things like a little differently. So what does it really matter that you are willing to change things here when it does not going to affect anything else? Because you are yeah, I don't know. Who knows? Anyway, here we go. Let's go read Tillable Cat's story. This is what we're going to do right now. As soon as I can find a couple of things. One, that. Okay, found that. And just take a check. Is Tillable Cat still with us? I hope so. Oh, good lord, there's a lot of... There's T. Till... Oh, okay. Apparently they are. It's kind of hard to know. That's okay, though. Let's get rid of that. All right, okay. Here we go. Let's do it. Let's read it. Moral of the story, people are selfish. Maybe. Yeah, it's I don't know. I have to think about that one. Let's see. Where's my Kindle? Let me grab that. Here we go. Oh, no, okay, I already did change it over. There we go. Writing a Pisanka for Baba. Start a blank canvas. Oh, by the way, let me explain what this is right up front. A Pisanka, if I'm saying it right, it's a Ukrainian Easter egg, really like it's pretty cool. I got the thing for it here, copy from Wikipedia. Let me just post the link in real fast here. It's a very colorful, very decorative Easter egg, like a custom-made Easter egg. Very good. Writing a Pisanka for Baba. Start a blank canvas, a raw white egg. Assemble the dyes. Not the pale pastel colors you find in the drugstore, easy on the eyes, benign and bland, but the deep, rich colors you get in Ukrainian dyes. Full-on red, orange, yellow, green, light blue, turquoise, purple, and black. Beautiful,
but toxic, made for eggs for keeping, not for ingesting. Find the large, gouged-up brick of beeswax, the same beeswax I remember using the first time I tried to make pysanky with my father. The resulting pysanky were objectively bad compared to those made by capable hands, lacking the razor-straight lines and the complex designs, each element full of meaning. I felt a connection with ancestors whose names I don't know, stretching back who knows how long into the past. I felt my ancestors looking down at me, simultaneously pleased that the traditions were being continued, and gravely disappointed that their descendant lacked the patience and skill to spend hours on an egg. I also dig out the kitski, the kistki, the tools with the little funnel embedded in a dowel into which beeswax will be scooped, heated over a candle flame, and then applied to the egg in what I fear will be no more skilled than my very first attempt. I won't use the cheaply made ones that came with the dye kit. When my friend Yana and I made pysanky with the kids, their wrapped metal funnels leaked wax and the holes were too big to make fine lines. I'll use the ones that my father made, with all of the slow, careful, perfect engineering that drove me crazy when helping him with a project. Those are capable of making fine lines. Now for the best part. Planning the design. The symbol for a rose, stylized and pointy, is an obvious choice, as Baba's name was Rosalia. That will be one side, and on the other, a bird. My mother says that Baba used to feed the birds, and the day she died, hundreds of birds were in the yard, saying goodbye, or just waiting to be fed. A vine of leaves trailing around the length of the egg, dividing the front and the back, will be a callback to the one remaining pysanky written by Baba herself. What is left is a mere fragment, less than half, of a purple egg with a white vine. I usually display it nestled into fake grass, so it's not so obvious that it's not intact. This fragment is one of the few tangible artifacts that remains. This, and a handful of photos. It's funny that you don't ever really know what you will leave behind. The fragment shows that it was a simple design, not sophisticated or complex. Was this because she was older when she made it? Or was it because her mother died when she was young, and she left Ukraine at 16 years old, accompanied on that long ocean voyage only by a friend? Young enough that she had to lie about her age to gain entry, and illegal by virtue of her lie. Did she not have time to develop her skill? Did she, too, lack patience or time? I'll never know, and there is no one to ask. Whenever I try to find out if she had ever told my father about anything, her life in Ukraine, he said that he was only told that it didn't matter. They were in the United States now. Did she really say that? Or was he just covering up that he never asked? Or maybe it was just that she was not very sophisticated herself. She never learned to read or write, not in English or Ukrainian. She did not have the education that would have made her a desirable immigrant today. But my mom said she was a sweet, loving woman, who enthusiastically responded, we go," whenever my mom suggested a small trip. My mom remembers being embarrassed by her country clothes and rolled-up cotton stockings, until she realized that store clerks were charmed by Baba. When Baba's daughters broke up with boyfriends, the boyfriends kept returning to see Baba. A proper Pysanky has layers of colors applied from lightest to darkest. What is to be retained of each color is covered with beeswax to preserve it when the egg is submerged into the next color. My Pysanka for Baba will have a simple design, both because that is what my skill level demands, and because what I know of my grandmother, who died before I was born, lacks many details. But what remains, like her fragmentary Pysanka, is treasured and will be preserved. That was really nice. That was really nice, Tillable Cat. Alrighty. And, I don't know, is that coming from a bit of personal history there, maybe, or you're just interested in decorating Easter eggs, or how did that come about? Or maybe I don't know. That might be a little too personal to put out there on the interwebs too. So, I don't know. All right. Yeah, that was really nice. That was really nice. It's very cool. Okay, and for those who missed the link before on what these Pysankas look like, there we go. Let's actually, actually I can grab a picture with some boom. Save. Let's see. To on desktop. Let's see. Okay, let's just save that real fast. I can drag and drop that into here. 1 second. Bloop. Did that drag? Was it too big to drag and drop? Huh. Okay, it's not showing up. Why is it not showing up? Let me back up. There we go. Let's just save this one here then. Save image. Okay, and save. Okay, let's see if this one will work. Maybe the other one was just too large. Oh, it's not. I can't drag and drop it into the thing anymore. Well, that's really not good. Okay, well, let's try on a different, can we drag and drop onto this one, maybe? Okay, I guess they took that ability out. Okay, I'm trying to drag and drop pictures in here, but you can't do that anymore. Very good. Did you miss it? Yes, you missed it, Kate. You missed it. It was very good. It was very good. I was just trying to drag an actual picture of what Pysankas are, but yeah, I mean, if you can check on that Wikipedia link there for Pysankas, and that'll tell you all about them. Very cool. Kind of reminds me from what was it? I forget what it was called. We used to make T-shirts out of it. I think it was called batik or something like that. But I remember you had to use like a lot of wax stuff on that. I guess yeah, all this all this wax work and then dyeing and stuff like that there, and repeated dyeing. It reminds me of that. Very, very cool, detailed stuff. Anyways, great story. Great story. Really like that one. Thank you for sharing that, Tillable Cat. It's okay. You'll be able to check it out a little later. Okay. You posted in Discord. Thank you, Shadowtronics. Posting the pic in Discord so people can go take a look at that. Yeah. Look at that. Incredibly detailed. Incredibly detailed. But yeah, there we go.
All right. So is Tillable Cat? And so you're actually making one of these things right now, or you have made one already? You're gonna pull up another another little short story while we're waiting for this. Oh, what's this? Okay, we're just going to read this one. The Quest of the Queen's Tears. You have in the past, but they're not good? Well, I mean, practice makes perfect, right? The Quest for the Queen's Tears. So we got some very, very creative people here showing up in this stream. Very creative people. I'm always happy to read what people are willing to share. You've written it there. Yeah, we got Orca. Yeah, so we got two very cool. One a bit of a very sentimental piece there, thinking back to grandmother from the old country, as it were, keeping some of the traditions alive with the Pasankas. And another one about some thought-provoking time travel. Some good stuff. Yeah, we got some very good creative people here. Oh, you did? Okay, cool. Okay, I'll be sure to read that after the stream's over there, Kate. Very cool. Okay, so here we go. We're going to do one last short story before we end the night. Then I'm going to take a break, and then I'll be coming back at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, and we're going to read some. Sorry, we're going to watch a movie. We'll watch a movie and then get into some MMO. Yeah, that'll be awesome. Alrighty, and thank you, Glass Inco, for sharing the stream out there on Twitter. Thank you for that. I like that. Yes, I do. Okay, why is... No, I don't want to click on it. Too late, I already clicked on it. Unbelievable. Why? No, okay, never mind. I should not be looking at... Okay, let's do it. The Twitter hashtags. Oh boy. Okay. Oh yeah, there's master. Oh, there was a bunch of new commands added too. You can I believe you can do that one there. You can send where's my character? There it is. Did that work? Oh, it's all the way down there, and yeah, okay, there we go. All right, yeah, that hug command got updated. And you can go plant bombs on people. Skip Donahue shares not Twitter every time you remember. Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, I try to remind people too while we're doing it. So here we go. We've got one more short story to read, and then I'm taking a bit of a break. I'm going to come back and we're going to do some... we've got a movie to watch, My Man Godfrey, which is going to be pretty sweet. This one right here, that's the link for it right there in case anyone is curious. And then we're going to fire up some Neverwinter thing. Or, yeah. And just see how that goes. All right, okay, but here we go. Let's do it. Let's get into our last story of the day. Last story. Let's do it. Let us do it. The Quest for the Queen's Tears. You're gonna be doing Ark before movie time. All right. Sounds good. There we go. Oh, where'd it go? Did it reset it? It did. The Quest of the... Again. The Quest of the Queen's Tears. The last one of the night. Sylvia, Queen of the Woods and her woodland palace, held court and made a mockery of her suitors. She would sing to them, she said. She would give them banquets. She would tell them tales of legendary days. Her jugglers should caper before them. Her armies salute them. Her fools crack jests with them and make whimsical quips. Only she could not love them. This was not the way, they said, to treat princes in their splendor, and mysterious troubadours concealing kingly names. It was not in accordance with fable. Myth had no precedent for it. She should have thrown her glove, they said, into some lion's den. She should have asked for a score of venomous heads of the serpents of Lycanthera, or demanded the death of any notable dragon, or sent them all upon some deadly quest. But that she could not love them, it was unheard of. It had no parallel in the annals of romance. And then she said that if they must needs have a quest, she would offer her hand to him who first should move her to tears, and the quest should be called, for reference in histories or song, the quest of the Queen's tears, and he that achieved them she would wed, be he only a petty duke of lands unknown to romance. And many were moved to anger, for they hoped for some bloody quest. But the old lord's chamberlain said, as they muttered among themselves, in a far dark end of the chamber, that the quest was hard and wise, for that if she could ever weep, she might also love. They had known her all her childhood. She had never sighed. Many men had she seen, suitors and courtiers, and had never turned her head after one went by. Her beauty was as still sunsets of bitter evenings when all the world is frore, a wonder and a chill. She was as a sun-stricken mountain, uplifted alone, all beautiful with ice, a desolate and lonely radiance late at evening, far up beyond the comfortable world, not quite to be companioned by the stars, the doom of the mountaineer. If she could weep, they said, she could love, they said. Then she smiled pleasantly on those ardent princes and troubadours concealing kingly names. Then one by one they told, each suitor prince, the story of his love, with outstretched hands and kneeling on the knee. And very sorry and pitiful were the tales, so that often up in the galleries some maid of the palace wept. And very graciously she nodded her head, like a listless magnolia in the deeps of the night, moving idly to all the breezes its glorious bloom. And when the princes had told their desperate loves, and had departed away with no other spoil than that of their own tears, even then there came the unknown troubadours, and told their tales in song, concealing their gracious names. And there was one, Acronion, clothed with rags, on which was the dust of roads, and underneath the rags was war-scarred armor, whereon were the dint of blows. And when he stroked his harp and sang his song, in the gallery above maidens wept, and even old lords chamberlain whispered among themselves, and thereafter laughed through their tears, and said, "It is easy to make old people weep, and to bring idle tears from lazy girls, but he will not set a weeping the Queen of the Woods."
and graciously she nodded. And he was the last. And disconsolate went away those dukes and princes and troubadours in disguise. Yet Acronion pondered as he went away. Good morning, Azamac. King he was of Afamar, Lul and Haf, overlord of Zarura and hilly Chang, and duke of the dukedoms of Molong and Malash, none of them unfamiliar with romance, or unknown, or overlooked in the making of myth. He pondered as he went in his thin disguise. Now by those that do not remember their childhood, having other things to do, be it understood that underneath fairyland, which is, as all men know, at the edge of the world, there dwelleth the gladsome beast, a synonym he for joy. It is known how the lark in its zenith, children at play out of doors, good witches and jolly old parents have all been compared, how aptly, with this very same gladsome beast. Only one crab he has, if I may use slang for a moment to make myself perfectly clear, only one drawback, and that is that, in the gladness of his heart, he spoils the cabbages of the old man who looks after fairyland. Oh, and, of course, he eats men. It must be further understood that whoever may obtain the tears of the gladsome beast in a bowl, and become drunken upon them, may move all persons to shed tears of joy, so long as he remains inspired by the potion to sing or to make music. Now Acronion pondered in this wise, that if he could obtain the tears of the gladsome beast by means of his art, withholding him from violence by the spell of music, and if a friend should slay the gladsome beast before his weeping ceased, for an end must come to weeping, even with men, so that he might get safe away with the tears, and drink them before the Queen of the Woods, and move her to tears of joy. He sought out, therefore, a humble, knightly man, who cared not for the beauty of Sylvia, Queen of the Woods, but had found a woodland maiden of his own once long ago in summer. Something, Mr. Landigity. And the man's name was Arath, a subject of Acronion, a knight-at-arms of the Spear Guard, and together they set out through the fields of fable until they came to fairyland, a kingdom sunning itself, as all men know, for leagues along the edges of the world. And by a strange old pathway they came to the land they sought, through a wind blowing up the pathway sheer from space, with a kind of metallic taste from the roving stars. Even so they came to the windy house of thatch, where dwells the old man who looks after fairyland, sitting by parlor windows that look away from the world. He made them welcome in his starwood parlor, telling them tales of space, and when they named to him their perilous quest, he said it would be a charity to kill the gladsome beast, for he was clearly one of those that liked not its happy ways. And then he took them out through his back door, for the front door had no pathway nor even a step. From it the old man used to empty his slops sheer onto the southern cross. And so they came to the garden wherein his cabbages were, and those flowers that only blow in fairyland, turning their faces always towards the comet. And he pointed them out the way, to the place he called underneath, where the gladsome beast had his lair. Hey there, Boydster. Thank you for the host, my friend. Then they maneuvered. Acronion was to go by the way of the steps with his harp and an agate bowl, while Arath went round by a crag on the other side. Then the old man who looks after Fairyland went back to his windy house, muttering angrily as he passed his cabbages, for he did not love the ways of the gladsome beast. And the two friends parted on their separate ways. Nothing perceived them but that ominous crow, glutted over long already upon the flesh of man. The wind blew bleak from the stars. At first there was dangerous climbing, and then Acronion gained the smooth, broad steps that led from the edge to the lair, and at that moment heard at the top of the steps the continuous chuckles of the gladsome beast. He feared then that its mirth might be insuperable, not to be saddened by the most grievous song. Nevertheless, he did not turn back then, but softly climbed the stairs, and, placing the agate bowl upon a step, struck up the chaunt called Dolorous. It told of desolate, regretted things, befallen happy cities long since in the prime of the world. It told of how the gods and beasts and men had long ago loved beautiful companions, and long ago in vain. It told of the golden host of happy hopes, but not of their achieving. It told how love scorned death, but told of death's laughter. The contented chuckles of the gladsome beast suddenly ceased in his lair. He rose and shook himself. He was still unhappy. Acronion still sang on the chaunt called Dolorous. The gladsome beast came mournfully up to him. Acronion ceased not for the sake of his panic, but still sang on. He sang of the malignity of time. 2 tears welled large in the eyes of the gladsome beast. Acronion moved the agate bowl to a suitable spot with his foot. He sang of autumn and of passing away. Then the beast wept as the frore hills weepen the thaw, and the tears splashed big into the agate bowl. Acronion desperately chaunted on. He told of the glad, unnoticed things men see, and do not see again, of sunlight beheld unheeded on faces now withered away. The bowl was full. Acronion was desperate. The beast was so close. Once he thought that its mouth was watering, but it was only the tears that had run on the lips of the beast. He felt as a morsel. The beast was ceasing to weep. He sang of worlds that had disappeared. He sang of worlds that had disappointed the gods. And all of a sudden, crash! And the staunch spear of Arath went home behind the shoulder, and the tears and the joyful ways of the gladsome beast were ended and over forever. And carefully they carried the bowl of tears away, leaving the body of the gladsome beast as a change of diet for the ominous crow. And going by the windy house of thatch, they said farewell to the old man who looks after Fairyland, who, when he heard of the deed, rubbed his hands together and mumbled again and again, "And a very good thing, too, my cabbages, my cabbages." And not long after, Acronion sang again in the sylvan palace of the Queen of the Woods, having first drunk all the tears in his agate bowl. And it was a gala night, and all the court were there, and ambassadors from the lands of legend and myth, and even some from terra cognita. And Acronion sang as he never sang before, and will not sing again. Oh, but dolorous, dolorous are the ways of man. Few and fierce are his days, and the end trouble, and vain, vain his endeavor. And woman, who shall tell of it? Her doom is written with man's by listless, careless gods with their faces to other spheres. Somewhat thus he began, and then inspiration seized him, and all the trouble and the beauty of his song may not be set down by me. There was much of gladness in it, and all mingled with grief. It was like the way of man. It was like our destiny. Sobs arose at his song. Sighs came back along echoes. Seneschals, soldiers sobbed, and a clear cry made the maidens. Like rain the tears came down from gallery to gallery. All round the Queen of the Woods was a storm of sobbing and sorrow. But no, she would not weep. And that, my friends, is the end of the stream. Yeah. So I hope you like that. Hope you like that. This has got some weird endings going on. Weird endings going on. Asteria, thank you for that follow. It's very kind of you. How you doing? That's it. So here we go. Thank you for rolling the credits there. Skip Donahue. Good lord, that dude knows how to flap those gums. SoCal Aussie. Kate Girl, thank you. Tillable Cat, thank you. Thank you, the both of you, for sending in those short stories to read. Kate sent us The Traveler, a time travel, a bit of time travel puzzling to work on there, and Tillable Cat writing writing on the Pasanka for Baba. I think that was the title. I think. Let me just double check that real fast. What does it say? One second. Page one. Get there. Go. Writing a Pasanka for Baba. Yeah, that was the name of that one there. Yeah, two very, very cool stories. Thank you very much. I'm always very happy, very excited when the creative writers here send me a little something to read and share with the audience. Thank you very much. They were awesome. Let's see, our first story that we were reading, the Beetle Horde there, we continue with that next week. That's going to be pretty exciting. But yeah, and tomorrow we're starting a brand new book tomorrow, the Lone Star Ranger. So we're going to see how that works out. Another Zane Grey Western. It's going to be interesting. What time is it right now? It's 4:20, which means it's yeah, I think you all know what that means. But it also means we need to end the stream, and I'm going to be back in 1 hour and 40 minutes. We're going to have movie night. It's going to be really, really good. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're watching My Man Godfrey. Here's the Wikipedia link for it here. Skip Donahue says, thank you, and nice to hear original stories. Yes. Yeah, I'm a fan. I'm a huge fan. Very good. So yeah, we're going to be back in 1 hour and 40 minutes. We're going to be watching a movie, and after that, we're going to be doing just some chill gaming.
including a bit of Neverwinter, just some Dungeons and Dragons adventures. We got some like low-level characters that we're going to be running around, having a good time with there. That should be like a lot of fun. Skip Donahue has got some bad habits. Yeah. All right. But there we go. Very, very welcome there, Tillable Cat. Always very, I'm always happy to read these. Okay, I do need to end the stream here. First of all, I just wanted to remind people, if you're watching on Twitch, if you're watching via if you're watching via Twitch, or if you're reading via YouTube or Periscope, our main stream is over on Mixer, mixer.com/CarringtonTV. And throw down a follow where you are at, or come down, throw a follow where we are over here. And we'll see you in a bit. Thank you for the new follows as well. I appreciate those. That's great. Okay, I'll be back in a bit. See you guys.